Hey Jammers, Kylan here. We just wanted to wish everybody a happy Father's Day. All the dads, all the soon-to-be dads, all the people that have dads or have had dads that like cool music. So we thought it'd be a really fun idea to release on our main feed one of our special Patreon-only episodes of a show Josh and I do called Disco Dads, because we're dads who like discographies. So this is an episode we did a while back to celebrate Clarity by Jimmy Eat World's anniversary. We had a really fun time doing it, and we hope you'll enjoy it as well. Without further ado, here is Disco Dads.
Yeah, it's just I've been even been getting into like the newer stuff, like Magic. I've been listening to Magic. That's a good.
That's
album.
the one I think I need to check out because I've heard that one's like really, really good for later Springsteen stuff.
Yeah,
Possibly the best.
I found out it's from. So I haven't listened all the way through yet, but to You Spring and Springsteen on my bean.
Mm-hmm.
But Magic, I think, is like Scott Aukerman's like number 3 Bruce Springsteen album.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's a lot of people's like definitely like later Bruce is like his best offering.
Yeah,
it seems to be.
Well, I've
need to get
I've
into
been
that one.
in terms of later Springsteen. I've been listening. I really got into Western Stars too. That's like his 2019 one.
Yeah. I didn't really listen to it, but I watched the like live performance thing
nice.
he had. Yeah, in his barn. Yeah, so I feel like I did listen to it, but that way instead of the album version.
Good. Anyway, welcome to Disco Dads. Starting off with a
How
Bruce
more
Springsteen.
disco dad can you get than talking about the boss?
Exactly.
Coming soon to a Disco Dads near you is our
For
inevitable
sure.
Bruce Springsteen conversation.
For sure. We're gonna have to, because I'm all in on the boss now. And I never thought I would be. I don't know what happened. Also, have you checked out the new Billy Joel song?
No, I have not.
Turning the
actually.
Light Off. It's his first song in 17 years.
Okay, I saw that on Spotify, but I didn't know if that was like a concert,
No, it's a
like
new
a live
song.
album or something. Oh,
No, it's a
nice.
brand new song.
Nice.
Uh,
I do need to check that out. Also, Disco Dads adjacent. if you like dad rock,
yeah,
you're gonna like this show. This show is for you.
for sure. Okay, so it's been such a long time since we did a Disco Dads. Should we maybe explain a little bit what this is?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay,
You
so
want me to or me? Or you?
well, you helped come up with the name, so I think
Okay.
you should explain the name, and then we can maybe get into more detail.
That's true.
Should
Okay.
we introduce ourselves? I don't know. Yeah, let's introduce ourselves just on the off chance that we do enough of these that we can eventually just release this as a regular
Sure.
podcast.
Sounds good.
You start it because I do every CJN.
okay.
I do
All right.
every single CJN intro. So
Okay, then I'll take this one. Hi,
right.
I'm your co-host, Josh Olson. Josh, what do you? I don't know. How do I sound so formal. I don't know what to do to introduce myself.
I'm telling you, I make it look easy, man.
You
I make
do.
the intro look easy.
I know. Seamless.
Yeah.
And join with me today is my
Joined with you
join
today.
with me today. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I'm
It's
only
hard.
a co-host. I'm not a host. Always a
No, you
co-host,
got
never
this.
a host. You know?
You got this, buddy.
Yeah. Joined by fellow disco dad, compatriot, Mr. Kylan Savage. Hey, Kylan.
Well, hey.
Been disco dadding it up.
I'm super dadding it up. Been
Yeah, you
listening to the boss all day, wearing my Valvoline hat. I raked leaves for like 4 hours yesterday. So can you explain briefly for people why we came up with the name Disco Dads and kind of what this show is? Because it's different from Church Jams Now, which I feel like most people will know us from.
Yes, they will. So Disco Dads is kind of just our outlet to talk about kind of whatever So on Church Jams Now, we talk about Christian music. So the talking about non-Christian music in the Christian world is called secular music. So this is our chance to talk about secular music and the bands that we like. And I think the idea sprung that kind of came up with the name was that we would go through bands' discographies where and we might still do this. We might jump around a little bit, but where we kind of pick a band and we'll go through their discography to cover it all. I don't know if we'll go forwards, backwards, jump around a little bit. We'll see. Jump
We're
up,
just
jump
vibing.
up, get down. We're just
vibing.
Yeah.
Disco Dads. So Church Jams Now is such a, well, for you, Josh, it's such a heavily researched show. And beyond that, like, I think we all come to Church Jams Now a lot more prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's a lot of work that goes into like editing the show, and coming with notes and everything. Like we have, you do the research, the context, all of that. And then
we have a established format that we adhere to.
Exactly. So this is kind of our chance to just kind of, I was going to say free ball it, but that's not right. Just
disco ball it.
Just disco ball it, man. We're just vibing out.
We are.
Yeah, talking about the music we like. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to say that the connection is we're talking about band discographies, and if you shorten discography, you get disco, and we're both dads because we were talking about like what do we call it, like sad dad rock, but that's like the National really took that recently and like made it like their thing, like on their shirts and hats and stuff. So we were trying to figure out like, how do we go off of that? Because it was heavily National inspired.
For sure. Because we originally wanted to just start a National podcast.
Yeah.
And then we realized that, I don't know, we realized a couple things. Like, I don't know if there needs to be more sad dad content out there. And if people, really care about that. And we wanted to use this as an opportunity because Church Jams Now came out of this sort of, these were the conversations we were having about Christian music that we just kind of formalized, right, and put on mic. And these are basically, Disco Dads is basically going to be the conversations we have about everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So just some examples of some of the bands that, we want to cover in the future. So episode 1, we talked about the National, and we were just pretty general.
Yeah.
About the National.
No specific record.
No, we just wanted to talk about like our history with the band and stuff because we both just love that band. And so then I think we started compiling a list. I don't have it in front of me, but I also know like Brand New, Manchester Orchestra.
Yeah, a lot of our crossover bands and like bands that you've gotten me into, and vice versa. Say Anything, Taking Back Sunday, some dad rock like Billy Joel and some Bruce Springsteen,
for sure,
and just other random
maybe throw
stuff.
Some Dylan in there.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And we've got a couple. So we are talking about an anniversary record for this episode.
That was my segue I was trying to get to.
Okay,
including that list, including the band we're going to talk about today.
That's true. Yes, and in that list. And I was going to say we're going to have a couple other anniversary records planned this year already, but we'll have just some other just random, just because we want to talk about this record or this band or whatever.
Yeah.
But the record we're talking about today is Clarity by Jimmy Eat World, because if you're listening on the day this airs, this will be the 25th anniversary of this record on February 23rd. That's 2024, but it was released February 23rd of 1999 for its 25th anniversary.
Wild.
So it seemed like a perfect time to bring back Disco Dads to cover this great cult classic record.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about it. Jimmy Eat World is, what's so interesting to me is like, I feel like you and I both found Jimmy Eat World at very different points in our lives, and there was never, up until relatively recently, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of crossover in that. Like I feel like you and I have never, like, beyond doing, so we did our top 10 Jimmy World songs this year, just personally.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not on any social media platform or anything. This is just what we do. And we haven't talked about Jimmy like a ton. I feel like.
No, I got into them much later, so I feel like we didn't really have.
Well, because what was the record that was invented there? 2009. What was it? 2009.
Oh, 2010 invented. Yeah,
2010. Yeah, so that was like around the time Like, you and I met in 2009,
Mm-hmm.
and I was mostly out for a while with Jimmy Eat World.
That was a rough time for them, I will say.
Yeah.
Those years were definitely their dip years.
Yeah. And then when did you really get into Jimmy Eat World?
So I didn't get into them until like end of 2013 and into 2014. And it's only just because I would go to Half Price Books and just get CDs and find them for $1 or whatever and just like be like, okay, cool. And so I'd found like Bleed American. So I got it and like would only listen to The Middle and Sweetness. And then I got Futures as well. And I just put it on my iPod Touch at the time and never listened to it. And then one day I was shaving in the bathroom and it was on shuffle and Night Drive came on.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh, dang, this is really good. Why have I never listened to Futures before? And then I dove into Futures and that is what made me a fan.
Futures is what made me a fan, too.
Oh, yeah. I bet.
Futures is my Jimmy Eat World record. And that's because someone burned it for me in, God, it must have been 2004.
Because this came out like November of 2004. So it was like,
Okay, yeah, maybe it was 2005. I think it was 2005. Because they also, yeah, it was 2005 because they burned me.
It was October.
Futures, Plans.
Oh yeah, 05.
Give Up by Postal Service, and Leaving Through the Window by Something Corporate. That was like the first time
I'd records for you.
I'd like made a friend that like wanted to burn me music. You know what I mean? Like going from a weird homeschool kid.
That's what we all wanted in middle school and high school, you know?
Joining public school. Yeah.
I had a friend like that, but he would get me like TFK, FM Static, and Hawk Nelson.
See.
But still extremely valuable and the friend you want, you know?
That's very true.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a dirtbag friend and a friend that that turns them on to cool music.
Yep, exactly.
Josh, am I your dirtbag friend? I feel like sometimes I'm your dirtbag friend.
But I'm okay between either of them.
I'm okay with that. The thing is, like, I've accepted that. I'm a little bit your dirtbag friend.
He says, whilst his hair in a ponytail, wearing a Valvoline hat.
That's true. I'm going full dirtbag. 2024 is the year I go full dirtbag.
It's true. So, Kylan, I want to hear about. So, Futures was what got you into Jimmy Eat World. What was your exposure like to Clarity? How soon did you get into it? All that?
Yeah. So Clarity took me a while.
Same with me.
Yeah. So Futures was so big. Futures and then Bleed American I found pretty shortly after that. Obviously, everyone our age like knew The Middle and Sweetness. Mm-hmm. But I think it was 2006 that I like, in my mind, like 2005 was my Futures year. 2006 was my Bleed American year. And then Chase This Light came out 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And I got pretty into that record. And then it was around then that I was like, all right, oh man, like I just, like this band might be like an all-time band for me. So I think I need to go back.
And and I want you to mention that you saw that tour.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yes.
I did. Friend of the, not this show, friend of Church James Now, Tanner Evans.
Yeah, he's not welcome here. He's not a friend here.
He's not a friend here. Enemy of the show, Tanner Evans.
No, he wanted to start the Bruce Springsteen podcast, so I think he has to be a friend.
That's
of
true.
Dads.
All right,
yeah.
He can be a frenemy. Frenemy of the show, Tanner Evans. Went with me and my mom. We drove to St. Louis to see Jimmy Eat World and Paramore and Deer in the Headlights.
What a great bill.
At the Masonic Temple. It was so good.
Was it actually a Masonic Temple?
It was like, it was a music venue.
That's what the venue's called. Okay, cool.
It used to be a Masonic Temple.
Okay.
And then they like
this would be
turned
a cool
it into
venue.
like a venue. Yeah. And I remember like, okay, so 2007 was when Riot came out. I was already a big Paramore fan from All We Know Is Falling.
You would be.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, the Pressure music video where Haley Williams is wearing the she's wearing a shirt that's got a hockey I was gonna say a hockey band. No, a hockey team's logo. The Flyers, maybe? I need to ask Kyle. Uh another frenemy of the show, Kyle
Yep.
Lester. Yeah, she looked so hot. I was like, I love this band. And then
Mhm.
so Riot came out. I bought Riot the day it came out. Huge fan. And I was a huge Deer in the Headlights fan. I think this was also before Drunk Like Bible Times. This was
I
just
think that was because
Small
07
Hooves,
was
yeah.
Small Hooves.
Heavy Steps. Oh
Yeah.
my god, yeah.
Yeah, and then 08
Um,
was Drunk Like Bible Times. I
Yeah.
think.
So Deer in the Headlights opened, and so the thing that made me so mad is the fan bases for Paramore, like post Misery Business hitting
Oh,
massive, and Jimmy World in their Chase This Light run were so vastly different. I was stoked because I was into all of it, right?
Yeah,
But I
you're
was
like, this is
so
for me.
Yeah, but I was so annoyed with the Paramore fans because it was all like, in my mind at that time, it's like all a bunch of 14-year-old girls that just bought the Paramore shirt at Hot Topic that only knew Misery Business. And I was a real fan. And then in my mind, like all the Jimmy Eat World fans were like balding 30 somethings, the only people drinking at the venue that were also really annoyed with the Paramore fans. Because I remember there were a couple like kids wearing Paramore t-shirts that kept trying to like crowd surf,
Mm-hmm.
and all these like just big dudes in like solid color t-shirts would just like throw them on the ground. We're just like so
Get out of
pissed.
here.
But yeah, man, I've loved Jimmy World, and so it was shortly after that that I decided to listen to Clarity and Static Prevails, and it took a while for Clarity to
Become clear.
yeah, exactly. It took a while for it to connect with me,
For you to gain some clarity.
for me to gain some clarity. Yeah, I was searching for a former Clarity against me, and I couldn't find it with Clarity Jimmy World, which was wild because at that time too I was like really got into like mid 90s emo, like, you know, Sunny Day Real Estate and Braid and Captain Jazz and Promise Ring and all that stuff. And for some reason, I think that like Clarity was just a little too slow for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then fast forward like just a couple years, I was like, oh yeah, this record's great. It still to me is like it's not on the same level as Futures. It's kind of similar to how I feel about like early Death Cab too. It's like I recognize the importance. This is very good. I like it a lot. It's not my record. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great record. What about you?
Okay. So as I mentioned, I got into them late 2013, early 2014. This was like right between the week where you have to like go back to work between like Christmas and New Year's is when I think I found them. So it's basically 2014. And so by then, summer of 2014, I think I'd gotten into like, I kind of went backwards. So I did Futures, Bleed American, Damage, and then Chase This Light. And I remember getting Chase This Light that summer, and that's like almost all I listened to was Chase This Light. And then I also bought Clarity, and I listened to it a little bit, and I was like, nah, this isn't hitting. Right. Not working for me right now. I'm just going back to Chase This Light. So then it wasn't until like a year later that I was like, you know what? I think I'll give Clarity another try again. I don't think it was like an instant thing where I was like, oh, finally, like it hit. But it was something that I was like, okay, I'm more open to this record now.
Right.
And it's fun to have this conversation with you because when we were working on Winter Light in late 2015 and 2016, your record, your 2016, 2017 record, Winter
It was
Light?
released 2017.
Okay, yeah, but we did all the work in 2015 and 2016.
Yep.
Every time that I would come over to your apartment to work on it, whenever I would leave, I had a long drive from where you lived in Dallas all the way to Mansfield. And for some reason, I just made it my thing where I was like, when I leave your house, I'm just going to put on Clarity, and that's going to be my
love
drive
that.
home. And like every week, I just listen to
I
Clarity
love that.
on my drive home. So like, yeah, so there are definitely songs that come on, and I'm like, I know exactly where I was at this point in the drive, like driving all the way through Mansfield. And I take like the fun way, like where you go across the lake of Joe Pool Lake and everything.
Oh man, is that why your lead lines, like in Kaleidoscope and Father Son, are just like so simple but so good? Is
Just very Jimmy. That could be why.
Is there some Clarity influence in there? Because I never
mean,
thought of, I never
would
put that
like
together.
To think so. I wouldn't point the finger at it and be like, you can tell there's clarity on this, but
No, but I
potentially.
can. But I
Okay.
can. I
Okay,
can, and
yeah.
I will, and I am.
There you go. All right then. So that was a fun thing where I just did it, and then at that point, I think I don't know how long it took, a couple times, but then I was like fully in on Clarity, and I was like, yes, and it just became like my ritual of driving.
Oh, that's
and listening
great.
to it.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that. That's
No,
super
yeah.
cool.
It was super fun. I then tried it with the moon in Antarctica afterwards, and I was like, man, no, not working for me. So we'll have to cover Modest Mouse on another Disco Dads.
I would like to talk about Modest Mouse at some
Yeah,
point.
we definitely need to. But I will say, so this is the thing with me. I got in with Futures.
Mhm.
I love Futures. I will accept whenever anyone has like their favorite Jimmy Eat World album, as long as it's Bleed American, Futures, or Clarity. I'm like, I won't argue with you. As long as those records are in your top 3 in any order, I don't care.
Right.
As long as you have, because I can accept an argument for either one to be your top 1 and the other 2 to be whatever order they are. I think, and we'll talk about this a little bit because you just got featured on some top 10 list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on Instagram. At this point in my life, I would put Clarity over Futures, and Clarity would be a top 10 record for me. Yes.
Whoa.
I can easily go back and forth to Futures because Futures is so good, but I would put Clarity.
That makes sense to me, though. Clarity is, yeah, okay. It's almost how, I think we've had this conversation before. I have this conversation all the time with my wife about how every musician that is serious about music goes through like a country phase at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Or wants to be taken seriously, goes through a country phase.
Lana Del Rey's doing it apparently.
Yeah,
right
dude, oh my God. Did I text you? No, I didn't text you this.
No, we haven't talked about
my
it.
God. Okay, well, hold on. Huge tangent right here. We can cut
Please.
all this out,
Go
but
for
like,
it.
okay. I'm beyond furious about this.
And she's doing it with Jack Antonoff.
With
isn't she?
Jack Antonoff, it's not
the most
gonna be-
country of all the producers working
Yes.
right now.
It literally, I told my wife this the other day. I read that. It's called Lasso.
Yeah.
And she went with Lana Del Rey, and Jack Antonoff went to Muscle Shoals to do a country record. And I'm like, just fuck off, man. Like, that's like this weird cosplay of country music. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's okay. So the funniest thing is yesterday, actually. So we're rewatching 30 Rock, and there's a scene in season 4 where Jenna Maroney says, Jack, I'm totally willing to go country. And he's like, excuse me? And she's like, yeah. So the thing is, every woman in entertainment, if they want to be taken seriously, can do 2 things. I can't remember what the other one was, but then one of them was, or they can record a country music album. And I was like, that's Lana Del Rey with this record. Like, it's, I'm a huge country fan. You know how I feel about Jack Antonoff. I think you know how I feel about Lana Del Rey. Like, she's incredibly talented, but the combo of her and Jack Antonoff is just the lowest common denominator of basic shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so them like doing a country album, air quotes.
In quotes.
Called
dear listener.
Lasso. I'm just like, no. Like but the thing is, I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to listen
you
to
have
it.
to.
And I'm probably going to
We'll
find
probably
some
have to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm going to find some stuff that I probably enjoy, but overall it feels disingenuous. And I think that's just both of them. I think their whole vibe is just disingenuous to me. And the thing that I love about country music, like real country music, is it's so the opposite. It's so hard on your sleeve. Like, I mean, everything from like Hank Williams to Chris Christopherson to Loretta Lynn, it's just so, it's like, it's this outpouring
To
of
Luke
like,
Bryan, just
oh my
so
God.
so sincere, so
I
hard
just-
on the sleeve.
And I can't reconcile that. I'm furious. Anyway,
But everyone
What
goes
were we
through a
talking
country
about?
phase. Everyone goes through a country phase, and you were relating this to an emo phase or something?
oh yeah.
Okay.
Clarity is such a musician's album.
Yes.
I feel like there's so much depth to that record that if you are like a music nerd of a certain persuasion, I can totally see Clarity taking the top spot in their discography.
Right. Well, it's weird because normally I'm the guy that's like, hey, I like what you're doing on these first couple records. Come back to me in a couple years after you've developed your sound. And
Right.
that's where I like to stay. I'm normally not like a beginning of the catalog is my favorite of whatever band. But like, for example, I've been a Jimmy World fan for 20 or 10 years at this
10
point
years.
now. And and I just got into Static Prevails like a year and a half ago. Like it took me this long to
interesting.
get into like early Jimmy World stuff. But yeah, for some reason Clarity is like the outlier where I'm like, no, I'm down with this. Even though Futures would normally be like, yeah, that's where I'm going to be my sweet spot after you guys have really honed your sound. But Clarity just has something special for me.
Love that. I love that for you. Can we talk about, because I don't fully remember, what from Clarity made your Jimmy Eat World top 10 list?
What was on there? I know of one for sure.
Because I know, because only one Clarity song made my top 10.
Oh, that's true.
And it's wild if you know me.
Yeah, isn't it like Believe in What You Want or something?
That's Goodbye Sky Harbor.
Oh, it is. Oh, that is crazy. Okay,
Which
we'll have to,
is
we'll have to get into.
An insanely long song.
It is an insanely long song. Yeah, I do want to. I didn't prepare all my normal research, but I did have some like history to talk about a little bit.
Yeah,
which
let's do it.
You probably know about this, I'm assuming, but
I probably
just to
know
cover it with
everything.
the listener. Like, okay, so do you know the story about this record almost not coming out?
No.
Okay. So they got so Jimmy Eat World. We'll summarize their bio real quick. So they do their first album in '94, and then Capitol signs them, and then they do 2 records with Capitol. They do Static Prevails in '96, and then they do Clarity in '99. But the thing is, so Static Prevails did not perform how Capitol was hoping it would perform. So I guess they gave them a big enough budget for them to have strings on a couple of these songs and just to have a 16-minute long song where they do a whole reel of tape for a song that we'll talk about. So they recorded it, and then because of how things were performing with Capitol, this record almost got shelved and didn't come out. And I think it was supposed to come out in '98, which is why, but then they were having trouble getting Capitol to release it, which is why it got delayed until '99. But they got, I think it's Lucky Denverman got in Never Been Kissed, I think. Is that the Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore?
Yes.
So they got that song in the movie. And then it started getting like some radio play and college radio and stuff like that. So then Capitol was finally like, okay, I guess we'll release this record, which is crazy to me. Like after you've spent all the money to record and mix and master a record, why you don't just shell out the extra couple $1,000s to like print it. But
well, that's the whole thing with like right now with like Warner Brothers and Max, like just shelving whole like fully finished movies.
Yeah, just for like I think it's like that's like the tax write-off, I assume. But
Who knows,
I don't know
man.
how this stuff works.
I don't know how any of this
it's
works.
weird. Yeah. So, but my favorite part, and one of my favorite parts of Jimmy World story is that so they got this record barely came out, almost didn't come out, and then it finally got released by Capitol, and then it didn't perform super well, obviously, and then they got dropped accordingly. And then
Right.
Jimmy Eat World is just like, whatever, that's fine. We'll fund the next record ourselves and just do it ourselves however we want to do it. So they released the singles EP to fund it. Then they record Bleed American. So I love that they got dropped from Capitol because they weren't successful and weren't a hit. And the very next record, 2 years later, they come out with The Middle and just become huge.
Yeah.
And
massive.
it's just like, I love it. It's just like the perfect like middle finger to Capitol. Be like, like you guys didn't believe in us, but we did it. Like the very next record
I know.
has massive.
Like a song that is just like so tied with the early 2000s.
Yeah, like everyone
And the
knows
late
it.
2000s. And just like it's just one of those songs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those songs that everyone knows.
Yep, and some record exec at Capitol's like, man, I wish we could have got our hands on The Middle. If only they would have. Which it probably wasn't very long because they had Sweetness by the time this record was almost like out. So I'm like, you guys should have waited a little bit longer, see what they had for the next record. But they didn't. And you know what, Jimmy, you guys didn't deserve Jimmy.
Nope.
They did not. So, I do want to also mention, I am using my Jimmy Eat World pint glass right now.
There you go. I was
with
wondering.
all the record titles.
Oh, that's cute. I was wondering if I literally was just about to ask what Jimmy Eat World like merchandise and things that physical media that you have. So
I think that's really it, other than CDs and some records, of course.
do you have this album on vinyl? I know you have the CD.
I actually don't have it on vinyl. So
Wow.
I do need to get it at some point. But it's
I wonder
just
if they have it at
like,
colliderecords.com. I don't know why I bring that up, but
I don't think they do, but I wish they did. They should, Collide. Get some Jimmy.
for sure.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, dude, that's so rad. I love stories of major label dropping bands and then them. Well, it speaks to the ethos of Jimmy Eat World. Like I think it was Ben from A Place for Owls recently did a whole thing on Twitter about Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah, I was loving all of that.
And how much he's like, I just love that they're just like 4 dudes. like they're just a bunch of dudes that would just
regular
play
clothes, just nothing like, no, so much stuff. I remember they did like a tweet a long time ago, but they did a poll. They're like, how many tattoos do you think the 4 members collectively have of Jimmy Eat World? And it was like a couple different options. And the answer was 2. And Tom has both of them.
Like, I love that.
They just don't have tattoos. They're just regular guys.
Well, I just love to
live in Arizona.
Yeah. Like, I remember when I saw them live, I remember at the time being unimpressed. But now, as an adult, just loving it. Because they went on after Paramore. And Paramore, specifically at that time,
and energetic and everything.
Yeah, it's the scene haircuts,
pressure flips,
and and what's his face, one of the Farrow brothers on the drums, just like being super flashy, exactly, and just like all the strobe lights and stuff. And then Jimmy Eat World, it's like they're all just like wearing t-shirts or like plaid shirts, and just hanging out, playing guitar, right?
Yeah, like they're not doing any stage antics. They're just like, we're just going to run through these songs flawlessly, but in a very maybe unentertaining way.
Right.
But still be great,
Yeah. So, this record, I think, it definitely has become like a cult classic.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say. And it's interesting to me because I fully recognize, I don't know, when I did my first big like emo deep dive, it always seemed to me that like early Jimmy Eat World was definitely a big part of that scene of like second wave emo, I guess you would call it, like Midwest emo that everyone just calls it that now, like the math rocky kind of slow emo, but they always seemed a little bit outside of that. And then the middle, like they became something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that they've always just kind of stayed in their lane of like they just want to do what they want to do. Like they never seemed like fully embraced by any particular scene. Like they're a band for everybody, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying they're just a good band. They're just a good band. Let's cut all this.
I think I'll go out on record. I mean, obviously I'm heavily biased, but I think I would posit an argument that I think they're one of the most consistent and best bands of the last 30 years. Because they're Jimmy Eat World, man.
For sure.
Like,
yeah, no, I totally agree.
Sure, they've had a couple like records that are kind of...
Totally agree.
I wouldn't even say duds overall,
Right.
but definitely not to their normal caliber, but they're just churning them out, man. Just
and you think about, like, it's a real... it's a real kind of Bruce Springsteen thing.
Bringing it back.
Oh, yeah. I've obviously been listening to entirely too much Bruce Springsteen lately, so any chance I get,
I can't wait.
Just check it on the next.
Talk about more, man.
On the next church jams, the church jams now for the next 2 months. I'm gonna find a way to bring up the boss.
Oh, that's the whole thing. I mean, you can. That's like a trope of mine. Is like, how can I find a way on the show to bring up the boss on church jams?
I love that. I love
done
it
many times, and I'll continue to do so.
Well,
and
I'm
now
we're
allies.
Yeah, that's right. And we're gonna turn TJ into a Bruce Springsteen fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they just like, I think at this point there are, especially because they were so associated with like an emo thing for a while, it's wild to me that they have been just that consistent. Like they are one of the few just like consistent rock bands.
Mm-hmm.
In an era where like rock bands aren't so much a thing anymore.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know, man. And it clarity,
man. So I kind of cut you off earlier, but you were talking about how Goodbye Sky Harbor is your favorite song from this record, correct?
Yeah, isn't that wild?
I would love to hear more about that, Kylan.
It has just always fascinated with me. So I didn't know the whole thing of they used a whole piece of tape.
That's why it's so long, because
Right.
they wanted to use a whole tape reel for one song, which is why it is 16 minutes and however long, which is
16, 13.
Yep, that's how long it took for them to use the whole tape reel.
That's wild. So fans of CJN will know that I famously hate long songs.
Unless
Unless they're like the last song
this is
on a record. I will always give grace for a last song. And keeping with the whole vibe guy thing, I don't think I have much justification for why this song over other songs on this record, except that, I mean, because I can't just say, oh, it's a great song, because the album is filled with great songs.
Mm-hmm.
But I like, the beginning feels very much of like the thing that I love that Jimmy Eat World does best is that like, it's a mix of like very clean tone guitar with like really chuggy guitar. Like even this part we're listening to right now is like you have the lead line doing a kind of Death Cab kind of thing of like arpeggios.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other guitar is going dun 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 dun, and you're like, why? Like, how does this work? But then the whole thing feels like a mix between like I don't know. It reminds me of like church services, and like you kind of you get kind of lost in the song,
mm-hmm.
and you can just let it wash over you and just like experience it. And it's with 16 minutes of song, there are inevitably, I don't know if this is for everyone or just me with ADHD, there are inevitably points in which I kind of zone out and can kind of tune it out and start like focusing on something else. But then it very effortlessly kind of pulls you back in.
Mm-hmm. As someone without ADHD, I experienced that same thing. So
Okay, cool.
Can't
Yeah,
confirm.
yeah. It's just it's so long, and it's so and the fun part about the song is that because it is so long, is that point is different every time. So there are parts of this song that like I'm sure even at this point in my life, there are parts of this song that I've never like fully actively listened to.
It's
Right?
just that you've experienced just almost subconsciously.
Yeah, and I find that just like fascinating on like a mental level.
Mm-hmm.
And they just do, because like all the vocals are kind of going in around,
Mm-hmm.
and it's this real kind of like, I don't know, it just it feels like a great album ender.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Timothy we talked about with As Cities Burn.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
it's a good, because the whole thing with that song was that, it gives you a chance to sort of take in everything that you had experienced previously on the record.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this does a good job of doing that as well.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's a good point. I've always thought like, because there's definitely sections of this where it's just kind of the same thing looping for however
Right.
long, like, I mean, possibly a minute or so, where I'm like, you could have added another part in sooner or changed something up. So, like, critically, I can look at it that way to be like, well, you could have
Right.
introduced something a little bit more in, like, have something new introduced or change things up every 16 or 32 bars or something like that to just be adding something new and changing things up for the sake of it. But then you would lose that aspect of it of kind of just being able to kind of get lost and zone out and just focus on something else, but still having it on and then it comes back to you. So, yeah, critically, I can look at it and be like, I think you could have done more with this. But then at the same time, it takes maybe away from some of that experiential aspect of it,
Right.
which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
pretty unique.
It feels almost like when you're leaving a theater, whether it's like, well, I don't think you experience this as much with like multiplexes or whatever. But okay, so like when I was working at Texas Theater, right? So I worked at the bar, and we had, so I could basically control the music that was playing in the lobby. We had like a little turntable and a vinyl record, and it was always really fun to think about the movie that people were watching and to try to match tonally, right? Like what music would play afterwards, because it's a really profound experience when you're like watching a movie, you're like sitting in a theater, a darkened theater, and you go out and then there's like light, right? But you're still kind of processing the movie, and to be able to kind of match that ambience
Mm-hmm.
can
And
kind of make for
kind
like a
of
magical,
extend the movie in a way,
exactly.
like where like you're like, oh, this is now the part where the movie sinks in with you and you ponder it
Yeah,
more.
exactly. And I think this song does that incredibly well.
Yeah.
That's why it's one of my favorite Jimmy World songs.
I love that take, Kylan. I love
Thank
that
you.
take.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, my favorite song on this record, and one of my favorite Jimmy World songs, I was extremely surprised that this was not on your list, because this is one of the most popular from this record and very popular among Jimmy World fans. But mine is, for me, This Is Heaven, which,
Yeah.
I mean, the CD has Can You Still Feel the Butterflies printed on it. Like, they knew
Right.
what it was. Like, they're like,
Yeah.
this song, guys, we know this song is going to be the one.
Yeah, this is the most like you can see. We talk about that a lot on Church Hymns Now, and I think we talked about it recently with Falling Up. Like you could see what the band's kind of turning into. Like you can
Man.
see,
Gosh, this song.
this is
Oh,
like, the thing is, yeah, like this song fits so well on Clarity, but it also would have fit perfectly on Futures, which is 2 records later. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Like if you just popped this in,
The production would have been a little bit more slick, but like,
Right.
yeah, the same song could have gone right onto it.
for sure. No, this is a great song. Why is it your favorite?
I don't know. It's just always just stuck out to me. And Jimmy Eat World just they have these songs where like they just play them, and just the way that the chords are hitting or the way that Jim's singing. I don't know. It just something culminates to where you just like feel it like in your heart, and you're just like, oh, this is. And they've even on their last record, Surviving, there's a song Delivery that has that exact same feeling. It does that same thing to me, where I'm like, they still have that. Like they can just like, here's the Jimmy magic, and it just like hits you. You're like, oh, guys, you can't be doing this, but I want you to do this to me all the time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's the perfect like emo thing. It's like like everyone makes fun of like emo music, and this is a whole other rant that I'm not going to go on. But like what most people associate as like emo music is more like scene music. I call it scene because that's just what all the kids, we called it in 2004, 2005. But this is real emo music.
Yeah.
Like a really good emo song will be like this kind of thing. And it just hits you right in the heart.
Yeah, it does. And I wasn't prepared to explain all the reasons why, and I don't even know that I could, other than it's just like you just feel it and you just love it kind of thing. And I know that's the same way with a lot of other Jimmy Eat World fans, like Tyler Evans, who we had on Church Champs Now. He's a huge Jimmy Eat World fan. He has lyrics from either For Me This Is Heaven or Can You Still Feel the Butterflies like tattooed on his arm, because this is like his song. And it's like that's the way for a lot of other people from this record, where it's just like, so it's not like a deep pull to be like, oh, For Me This Is Heaven is my favorite off this record, but it may be unsurprising to you, but I'm very much a side B guy on Clarity.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Like,
that makes sense.
Man, 10 into Just Watch the Fireworks, For Me This Is Heaven, Blister, Clarity, Goodbye Sky Harbor. That's all hits.
Yeah,
right
I mean, yeah. That's an insanely good run.
That's all hits.
Do you think this record would have hit better if they resequenced it, or is that just like a
you mean like if
thing?
like
Do
commercially?
you think in 1999, do you think people would have connected with this album more if they had switched up the track list?
I don't know, because Lucky Temperament is number 2. I mean, they start off with Table for Glasses, which I think is 100% the correct choice to open the record.
Right.
It's very slow. Like if you're an A&R guy looking for the single, that's not your single. But Lucky Temperament is 2. I think a lot of the upbeat songs are on side A. Your New Aesthetic, Believe in What You Want, Crush, and then the more emo-y, feely kind of more mid-tempo songs are on side B. There's not a lot of like super up-tempo, I think. So I think it is sequenced really well. It's sequenced in a perfect way for me to enjoy this record as a side B guy, and as a
especially as you're driving to Mansfield.
Yeah, I'm going over the lake.
Over the lake, yeah.
Yeah, just looking at the lights, just perfect. I do have something I want to talk about that I texted you about this years ago that I guarantee you will not remember.
I guarantee I won't.
But I do want to hear because I will recant. I've changed my mind since, but I texted you and I was like, man, it's a bummer that Blister is inside B right between like all these songs, like that run of songs of 10, Just Watch the Fireworks, For Me This Is Heaven, Blister, and then Clarity and Goodbye Sky Harbor. Because if you're unaware, listener, Blister has Tom singing. It's not Jim. It's their other vocalist who was like the original vocalist, and then him and Jim started like trading off. And then by this record, Jim was singing the whole song, the whole album, except for this song on this. And it's obviously like Tom wrote it, so it's definitely in like a different place lyrically than Jim's stuff. So I used to be like, yeah, it just sticks out in a way that's like not great, because like, I don't know, you're just in the middle of like here, like all these feely things that Jim's singing about, and just like the music that's going on, and then like Tom starts singing about like how long would it take me to walk across the United States. You're like, what are you singing about? What are you even singing about, Tom? Like, I have no idea. You sang about cavemen on the last record. Like, what are you doing here? But it's a live staple. Like, I think they play the song every show.
Yeah.
And people love it. And after, I think seeing them live has, like, a couple times has helped me with this song.
Change your mind.
And it's a great song. I really enjoy it. So before I kind of had a beef with it, And I still think maybe you could put it smack dab in the middle of the record of like closing out side A with like your like up-tempo songs, like maybe after, and I'm going to spoil this, but I want to get into something else about some sequencing on this record as well.
Okay.
But I think maybe before or after Crush, you could put this on there as like the exact like middle point of the record.
Okay.
And then you could get into the like emo side B of the record. So that's
interesting.
That's my thoughts. I don't know if you have anything you want to add before I get into my next sequencing discussion.
I don't think I have anything I want to add to that. I could see that working.
Yeah.
I think I like where it's at.
Yeah,
I think I like the it feels a little bit like a palate cleanser for after For Me This Is Heaven.
Yeah.
I do, but I do also fully understand that like if you want that like clean run.
Oh gosh, that run would just be so
It'd
10.
be
Just watch
pretty
the fireworks. For
perfect.
me, this having clarity. Goodbye, Sky Harbor.
Yeah.
Which, oof, so good. Okay, my other question is: this is a whole thing we've talked about a little bit on Church Jams now, our sister show, if you will. But what do you think about 12/23/95? Is it a Christmas song? Is it not a Christmas song? How do you feel about it on this record? How do you feel about it in general?
Yeah, I mean it's fully a Christmas song.
Okay. I mean, he says Merry Christmas, baby, in it.
I mean that's like half the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's usually a skip for me.
Okay.
I just generally don't love like Christmas music.
Yep. Which is not overtly Christmassy.
No,
But-
but yeah, I never even considered it. It is weird that this song is on this record.
It is. Was it track 7 or something like that? 6 or 7?
Yeah, track 7.
7, yeah.
But I like the weird kind of like programmed drums
Yeah.
on it. It does feel like knowing their output now, you could go one of two ways. Like you could think like where they are musically, like it was either really intentional that this went on the record, or
Or they were like,
they didn't
this
have
record
enough
may not come out. Let's just
songs."
try it.
Yeah.
Let's just put out whatever we got.
Yeah. And so I think whichever version of that you kind of ascribe to, I think probably colors how you view the song, I guess.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying it like that is like I think I kind of vacillate between the two. Like I don't know.
Okay. I kind of thought you might be more in defense of it. So, yeah, I will say I would 100% cut this song from the record.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think I like this song. I think it's fine. And I was listening to, and like this has always been like, it's weird having a Christmas song. And Starflyer 59, my other contender for favorite band of all time,
right,
also has a record from 1998. I don't know what it was about bands in 1998. They're like, let's throw a random Christmas song in the middle of our record. It'll be fine. People won't care. People do care.
In 2024, people care.
And people, yeah, and it makes your record weird if you listen to it in the summer and you're like, I'm going to skip this Christmas song in July.
But, so that's what I'm saying though, like, because there is a way you could come at it thinking that like, okay, so you and I talk about a lot because you're very, I feel like, fascinated with the idea of associating records with seasons.
For sure.
I think you're not alone in that. I think there are quite a few people that and I have now.
Do you have a season for this record?
It's a very end of fall record for me.
Okay. That works. I would say winter, but this end of fall also works.
Like post Thanksgiving.
Sure.
Because like you're going into Christmas, it feel like there is a lot of coldness, I feel like, in the production of this record.
Which Jimmy World is really just a fall band overall.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
But this feels, and like even down to the artwork, like there's a lot of blues and like it's a really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean cool like hip. I mean, like cool, like temperature wise,
yeah.
like feeling record. But then even because like for me, This Is Heaven feels like a late summer kind of song, but through the lens of like it's now getting darker earlier, and I'm kind of thinking back on this time that was like a
I
little
like
more
that,
golden, a
yeah.
little warmer.
Yeah.
And so you could come at this record thinking about it, and this song in particular, thinking about it in terms of that, of maybe they were intentionally trying to be like, yeah, this is a winter record.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I definitely think there is some of that because Crush has like talks about like snowball fights or like winter, like snow coming down or something like that. I'm thinking of
Right,
I was
we
a
talk-
kaleidoscope. I always like have those
Yep.
two like because they talk about snow stuff. But
Yep.
yeah, I was listening to it again and I was like, because I do like the song. So I was like, I don't know, I do like this song though, but do what I could. But that what I realized was, I think if it wasn't on the record and I heard it years later, I wouldn't have thought like, I've been missing out not hearing this song. Like I could have been like,
Right.
I'm glad I heard the song and like I can enjoy it for what it is. But I don't think like, this should have been on Clarity.
Right.
So
Well, so the Clarity expanded edition that's on Spotify
mhm.
also has Christmas Card
Yep.
on it, which, I mean, did they just write all of this around Christmas? And do you think Christmas Card could have replaced 12/23/95?
I like Christmas Card more for sure. I think it's more Christmas, yeah, because it says Christmas in the title.
Right.
I don't know if they wrote it. I think they wrote it just around this because it also appears on the singles record, which is they were just
Right.
doing singles with different bands and like split EPs and whatnot. So it shows up on that. So I think they had it, and it was just kind of out around this time. So it was an easy thing to throw on for like the bonus version of
Right.
when they did Clarity, like based on the vinyl, because they're like, oh, we can tack on Christmas Card in the early demo of Sweetness, which honestly, this Sweetness might be better than the Bleed American one.
You're not
Other
alone in
than-
saying that. Someone
Other
just,
than the acoustic guitar matching the
Right.
I would take that out. But I love the vibe of this
there's
one.
someone I just saw on Twitter like today or yesterday say that same thing.
That's the Sweetness version is really good.
Of
It's really good. Yeah, it just has that. But I have some stats to back it up. Is that 12/23/95? This is my last point, and then we can move off this
Oh,
topic.
cool.
and move
No,
on.
no, it's fine. I have no. Here's the thing. I have nothing planned.
Okay, cool. I've
we've
got some
been-
notes, but
We've been going for an hour. We can probably cut about 15 minutes of this, so we can go as long as we want.
yeah. But I'm not alone in thinking this because this is the least streamed song on the record, including bonus tracks like Christmas Card and Sweetness.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. So even those have more plays than this one. It seems like everyone's just like, skip this guy. Well,
Do you think? Yeah, I think musically, too. Like it does some interesting things, but it maybe doesn't do enough. Like
mhm.
I might be more okay with it being like a minute and a half.
Yes, yeah. There's not a lot
Kind
of
of
development on
like
it.
like an interlude almost, which feels like kind of feels like the intention of it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you shaved
Um,
off a minute or two of this song, for sure.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think about it a little differently.
Cool. All right. What else you got? What else you got about Clarity, my man?
Ooh, well, we talked about 12/23/95. We talked about Blister. I mean, we normally go track by track, but we're trying out a little different format here. to just kind of hit some of the highlights, have some fun talking points.
Do you want to talk about Table for Glasses?
I have it in my notes, actually, so we
Cool.
can. What do you think about Table for Glasses?
I love it. And
You
you know
love
what
it?
I do love? I
What do you
love the Manchester version of it that just came out last year.
Oh, yeah. I've only listened to like
Yeah,
once or twice.
because they did that split where Jimmy covered a Manchester song and Manchester
Mhm.
covered a Jimmy song. I don't remember the Manchester song
It was one of the
World
newer
cover.
ones off of Million Masks of God.
Telepath.
Telepath, yep.
Yeah.
That's a great Manchester song. The Manchester version's better. I hate to say it, but
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think a lot of people do too. It's got less than 1 million streams.
it's a great Manchester song.
Yeah, I'm so mad. Did you see that tour?
I did see that tour. Yep.
I'm so mad. I'm
It was
so
great.
mad. Was it so good?
It was great. I just wish, because they would go back and forth on who was like closing the show that night.
Right.
And we got a night where Manchester was closing, which Manchester puts on a great show. But
They do put on a really good show.
I wanted to see Jimmy have, because they basically did the whole set, but in Austin they closed, but then they had one extra song, 555, that Allie was really wanting to hear.
555
And
is so good.
I love 555. And
I
the
do
music
too.
video
I don't
is
know
the
why.
wackiest and most wonderful thing.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I really love it. It just feels like such a weird left turn.
Have you seen the music video?
I haven't seen the music video. No,
You
I'll have
haven't
to watch
seen
it.
Oh my gosh! After this, you need to watch the music video
Okay.
for it. Because at first I was like, "This song is kind of weird, Jimmy," and then I watched the music video and I was like, "This video is even weirder, but it makes me love this song now."
Oh, that's great.
Yes, you need to watch 555. It's
I
great.
think 555 almost made my Jimmy top 10.
It's so good.
It's so
Dude.
good. And it shouldn't work, but it does.
It shouldn't work. I mean, I think Surviving is. I think it's a top 5 Jimmy record for me.
It's
Like,
good. It's
They're
good.
back, man. Like,
Yeah.
they were like finding their way back for a while, but with Surviving, I was like, "Yep, this is it. They got it.
Yep.
They got it back, guys. Good job."
With Surviving, I feel like they simultaneously attach themselves to this sort of like, I don't know, like a new production style that is really popular while also kind of, but without it seeming cheap, right?
Mhm.
Like they took the almost kind of, I would say a little like Frank Ocean, even a little kind of Jack Antonoff kind of thing of like, a pretty typical like pop production and made it their own.
Well, it was Justin Melville Johnson who also produced After Laughter by Paramore. So
Makes sense.
it's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
that same kind of sonic
Yeah.
fingerprint on it.
It's good. So Table for Glasses.
Yep.
So
Yep.
they
We like it.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great song, man. I think you're right. I think it's the perfect way to open the record.
Yeah, because you're a big opening track guy, but you like the slow open with Table for Glasses.
I do. Well, because, okay, so once again, my big thing with opening tracks is they don't have to be big and bombastic. They have to, it's almost like, it's like a thesis statement. It's like an abstract in a paper, right? Of like, you're gonna summarize, like, this is what we're going to accomplish within this record, within, these next
3 to 4 minutes.
30, well, within the next
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of 30 to 50 minutes. Like, this is kind of what you're going to get. And I think Table for Glasses does that incredibly well.
It sets the scene like you're setting glasses on a table.
Exactly.
Nice.
And it goes perfectly into Lucky Denver Man.
Yes, it absolutely
So good.
does.
So good.
Are you familiar with the Jimmy Eat World EP from 1998 that has some B-sides from this record?
No, I am not.
You're not. Ooh.
No.
This was a more recent discovery for me too. In like late 2021, I think is whenever
Okay.
I like heard it for the first time. And there are some B-sides on that one that aren't on streaming, and so I bought the CD from it, and I found one that was like still sealed, and it had like a hype sticker on it that was like coming February of 1999, Clarity, and I was like, this is so cool.
Oh,
Like,
that is so cool.
So I
that is
took
so
off the
cool.
shrink wrap, but I kept the sticker in the CD case. 'Cause
Oh,
I'm like,
good.
That's so cool. Yeah. No, I still got it. But it does have, so this came out in 98 to precede Clarity. I think when Jimmy was like, we got to do something. And I don't know how much like the band was really aware of it. I think I've heard like Mark Trombino talk about like how he was a lot more aware of like how close this record was to not coming out.
Oh, interesting.
But the band was kind of just like, let's just keep working on the songs in the studio because we got this time kind of thing.
Right.
So they had this EP come out that has Lucky Denver Mint and For Me This Is Heaven on it. It has a demo version of Your New Aesthetic, which is kind of more chill and pretty cool.
Oh, interesting.
It's a demo version, but yeah, it's a lot different like arrangement of it, and I think it has some alternate lyrics.
Oh,
and then it has a B-side called Softer, which I think is fine. But then it has a B-side called Roller Queen, which is, I don't think it should have made the record. I think they did a good job keeping it off the record. But it's one of my favorite Jimmy songs.
Oh, wow.
And it's just
so, okay, can you explain that? Why it's one of your favorite Jimmy songs, but you don't think it belongs on the record?
It's super slow, and it's very just like, it's kind of almost lo-fi. It's a predecessor to lo-fi. Like,
okay.
It's very sparse and chill. It's like 6 or 7. It's like 6 minutes, almost 7, and it kind of has like some parts, but it's like it has drums and stuff, but it's like just loops. Like Jim did all of it himself. So it's like has like kind of just like a looped drum part, a drooped lum part, and it kind of like it's just kind of the same thing. Like has a verse and a chorus, but it's just like super like. It's big on the vibes. Like you're like you could cut this down for sure and make it more interesting, but it's just vibes for days.
I do like that song. That did make your top 10, right?
I think it. Yeah, I think I went pretty heavy on like B-sides, which I maybe need to scale back a little bit if we do an updated top 10. But it's at least top 20 for me for sure. Like cool. and it's just a lot of newness to it because I've only known about this song for a little over 2 years now, so I kind of to like hear this new song from like kind of classic Clarity era Jimmy, and that still has. So like
that's
all
the thing.
That
so I didn't know about this. I
Jimmy
didn't know about this EP, but I did know about these songs because I had downloaded in 2006, 2007. No. Later than that, I was past LimeWire.
No.
I was maybe getting into my BitTorrent phase. I got a
bunch
that's where
you
of
were
like,
when I met you, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, hey, you could just BitTorrent everything. And I got a bunch of like Jimmy Eat World B-sides and stuff. Like I knew that song.
Yeah.
But you know, when those things like when you download those, it's just like a mishmash of just like here's a zip file.
Yeah,
of
this
like
could be actually correct, or it could be someone got it wrong and put it up there.
Yep.
So good.
Clarity. Good record.
Great record. Where does this the last thing I want to know is where does this slot into your Jimmy discography ranking roughly? I don't need an exact hierarchy, if you will, but what's the general area of where you would put this?
At this point in my life, I think I put it third.
Futures bleed clarity?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, I'll go back to what I said earlier. As long as those are in
I know.
and whatever order they're in, I will not argue with you. As long as those are your top 3, I will accept any order.
Yeah. The thing about it is like Chase This Light. I'm a really big side A guy. Side B doesn't do it as much for me.
I think it's the middle of the record that loses
it. You know what?
Because it ends really strong. It starts strong and ends strong. And I love Chase This Light. It's just shy of being as good as their other, like, as those 3 records. Like, I love it, but I can recognize it's not as good, but just barely. Like, it's so close.
Just barely, yeah.
So close, guys.
I know. So, Clarity, though, you think right now that's, like, where you stand right now?
I reserve the right to change it to Futures at any point, but
in the futures,
I would put in the futures. Yes, I always believed in them. Hope for better in November. I would put Clarity up there, and I would put it in my top 10. I think we did a list with Kyle, with our buddy Kyle Laster, a couple weeks or months ago about our top 10, and I put Clarity in there, and I would put it there still. You know, I listened to it preparing to talk about this, and I was like, this record's just so good.
I did too.
I
did too. Yeah, it's one
of
of the. It's like it's such a sneaky record for me though. Like, like I don't immediately go to it, but whenever I do engage with it, I'm like, oh fuck, this record is like really good.
Yes, it is. It certainly is. A cult classic for good reason.
Yep. I think you're right. So, do we have anything else we wanna say about Clarity?
Just happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
quarter of a
Clarity.
century birthday.
Oof. Almost kicked off your parents' insurance.
Yeah, that's true. You're getting dropped from the board. The guys are going to drop you in one more year.
Yep. In one more year, you're on your own, Clarity. Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know what to say at this point. Like, more people should listen to this record, obviously, but
Yeah,
the people that
know.
know.
But if you like this record, we hope you liked it, you know?
Yeah.
And we hope you like it even more, if that's
Yeah.
even possible. Because
That's
this record
true.
is so good.
If there's anything else that we didn't talk about, because we didn't go through track by track, and there are a ton of other just bangers on this record. But we want to know, listeners, what you think of Clarity, where it ranks in your Jimmy World discography ranking,
In your Disco Dad ranking.
ranking.
Yeah.
There you go.
And your favorite song from Clarity as well.
Yes, please. I think that's gonna do it for this, right? Right?
I
Unless
think
we
so.
have anything else? All right. I don't have a sign off for Disco Dads.
We'll have to workshop it, yeah.
We will have to workshop it. If anyone has any ideas, should we just play like Donna Summer to like get us out of here, or
Perfect.
PGs? Staying alive.
Disco Dads.
Disco
Dads.
Perfect. All right. That's it.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep yourself warm. The leaves are still falling.